All of this GXCC racing action is proudly brought to you by SPX Logistics, in association with the franchise company, and driven by Dunlop Tires and Bikers Warehouse. GXCC round number 1 at Rustenburg was all about the numbers on the page, and those numbers were record entries coming in for all the classes. The biggest numbers on the day and the classes that showed the most growth were the Pro-Am category races that make up our support classes as well as our WOW license riders. Everyone wanted a taste of GXCC racing action. When the flag dropped to open up our gate for the Pro-Ams, it was the Pro-Am OR1 Big Bangers, and Georgie Della Rosa gripped it and ripped it, and he saw the whole shots corner, Bernard Fafua and Moto Cartel. He had clear air rounds corners 1, 2 and 3, and he hit the tires first. Nick Wells was along for the ride, as well as Dwayne Clausen and the Rooster, Rudy Vieira. In the OR2 Pro-Am gate, Megan Yonka very nearly grabbed her first hole shot as she now lines up with the boys for the season, but it was just one wheel ahead for Bradley Burrell as he got the KTM fired up on the inside at Bonnet Fafua and on Moto Cartel, but Megan Yonka was there running a close number 2 spot in the early laps. Wild as ever for Burrell as we go back into the OR3 Pro-Ams. Now with a lot of moving and shaking in this gate as well, it was gate open for possibly a new champion. Stefan Smith put his Yamaha up on the inside. Albertine Pienaar unfortunately went down at the Bonnet Fafua hole shot corner, so he was going to have a super busy day making his way through lap traffic later on. Once again, the dividing factor was the chicken run or whether they were going to go for the pro line. A guy that definitely looks like he can rip it off the line like a pro was our WOW guy, and a new guy racing with us on the GXCCs in 2021, Sean Vermark. He absolutely nailed it out of the gate on the 51 machine. In fact, at this event, he was riding 510, and he would see clear air, and that would definitely help him out, as dust was going to be the story of the afternoon event out here at Rustenburg. With the whole shot queue clear, everyone now had chance to relax their way into their 3-hour race format for the afternoon. A little bit of mud was still left over. They would see river crossings once or twice on the loop, but for the most part, the track had dried out real nicely. It was run in the morning session by the quads, and it was getting run in on the afternoon session by all the categories of racers out there on the two-wheelers. And for 2021, if you want to make the cut and make the show, you've got to make the top 5. These are our WOW class racers, meaning a lot of them were box fresh out of the gate, never raced a GXCC before. Some of them had, and they'll have had the advantage, but for the most part, the guys were fresh to the gate. 5th place on the day going to Werner van Heerden, and 4th up the road from him, Philip Boshoff. They did a great job. Most of these guys running a 3-lap racing format, and that's not to be sniffed at. This was a very tough 42-kilometer loop. Edwin Gower was up there inside with number 3 and managed to keep it on 2 wheels for most of the day to get the job done. Emil van der Westhuizen surprised himself even. He had an enduro setup on his bike. You can tell from the very soft suspension, but he still rocked his way up into a number 2 spot for the day. But it was the whole shot guy, Sean Vermark, super strong out the gate on the Rad KTM. You can see from the setup on his bike, he's got no hand guards, he's running pretty hard suspension, means he is what? A motocross dude. You could see it from the way he got himself out the gate and his riding position on the bike, but he's still got some good laps underneath him, and if he focuses, could be a champion of the GXCC gate. He took the flag at his first time of asking. Congrats, Sean. Confirmation of Vermark at the top of the pile, ahead of Emil van der Westhuizen, Gower, Boshoff and Van Heerden, rounding out the guys to beat now on the WOW gate in the top 5. In the OR3 Pro-Ams, like we said, a lot of moving and shaking with people moving up the ranks. Jannis Janssen walked away with a number 5 spot. Barnard Besadenhout, who did try and swing a leg onto a 4-stroke at the end of last year, but it didn't fit. He said he wanted desperately to get back onto his smoker, and he did just that, rocking and rolling his way to a number 4 spot. Another guy riding out of the Vans Racing Husqvarna squad, and these guys came with a powerhouse team to the line in 2021. Up the road from Barney was this guy, Andre Barwise. Barwise has been moving around between Yamahas and KTMs for the last couple of seasons and is stuck with the orange machine for this time. The Mudman was in the number 2 spot, and the first time we've seen Miguel really focus in his riding style. He's a small dude out there, but the Mudman Miguel Magado walked away with the number 2 spot, and that is going to cheer the guys up at Vans Racing Husqvarna big time. He is so rock and roll on the bike. We can't wait to see what he's going to do for the season. And then the guy that pulled the whole shot, Stefan Smit, he took his Yamaha to clear air, certainly for lap number 1 until he got into the lappers, did not put a foot wrong, and is the guy to beat now on the OR3 Pro-Am gate. Confirmation of Smitty on the top, Mudman in the 2 spots, Andre Barwise consistent as ever in the number 3. Besadenhout, we'll see him in the top 3 at some point in the season, and the number 5 going to Janus Janssen. Now onto the scary gate that is the OR2 Pro-Ams. Nathan Godrich, remember, he was one of the guys that was so fast, near on unbeatable on the OR3 Pro-Am gate last year. Now moves up into the OR2s, teaming up with Hein van Niekerk, putting a 2-man squad together, Powertech Racing. Watch out to see him climb the ladder as he gets more used to the 350 underneath him. Leon Goos, he's been so good, always pulls a good hole shot every now and again. Didn't pull the first one of the season, but we will see him see clear air at some point. He rocked his way to a very rock solid, consistent start to the season inside of a number 4. Werner Nordier, who spent plenty of time on the back wheel, now getting picked up by the Rubine Racing squad. His brother riding out of a different gate. Werner getting a good job going. 3rd place for him sets him up nicely for the season. And then a classic. Always love to see a guy rocking on a 350, running the 350 number plate as well, and that is Matthew Sneeman. Sneeman did a good job there, had the guns out the whole way through the day, and with it, the elbows up. 2nd place is a very strong start for him, and if he locks it in for the championship, will be a guy to watch out for the numbers. Clear air and hole shots is what GXCC racing is all about. Bradley Burrell did his homework in the off-season. He's got a little bit of a loose style on the bike though, but it still worked for him. In the chopping and changing and varied terrain of Rustenburg, Bradley Burrell walked away with his first ever GXCC championship win at the opening round. Checkers, and he'll be pumped with that. Confirmation then of Burrell on the tippy top of the scales. OR2 Pro-Ams is a tough gate to beat. Sneeman in the 2 spot, Nordier, Goos and Goodrich, and Megan Jonker, shout out to the top girl there, running a number 6 at her first time of asking. Now onto the big bangers, riding out of the support classes, the OR1 Pro-Ams. This is a tough gate to win. So close in the championship last year. In fact, Nick Wells, walking away with the 2 spot of the series last year, has to accept a number 5 this time around. The terrain just did not suit his more aggressive riding style. Dennis van der Merwe, who's also tasted a couple of podiums last year, also had to drop down to a number 4 spot. So the guys running inside the top 3 have definitely picked up the pace going forward into 2021. One of those guys was this guy, the Rooster. Rudy Vieira, unstoppable now on his big 500 after a couple of seasons on the 300 smoker. Now he has got used to the extra power and the extra grunt, and he has been putting in the training miles, and it shows. 3rd place was a very good run for the Rooster. 2nd place this time around for our guy that came out of nowhere. Well, you think he came out of nowhere, but I know George is fast and has been fast for a couple of seasons. Historically, he was rocking out on a big 500. He spent a couple of seasons on Blue Smoke. Now he's back on a strong Rockstar Racing Husqvarna 450 and supported by Vans Racing. And 2nd place was a very good run for Georgie, something that he can build on for the championship. With Dwayne Clausen, who gated in a number 3 spot, moved up to a number 2, and eventually went out there and made the pass on Big Georgie to see clear air. Dwayne Clausen has that immaculate, efficient riding style, and he just did not drop pace. In fact, he got stronger as the laps and the day got longer. Clausen on top and the man to beat in the big bangers. Confirmation then of taking his first win at the GXCCs. Dwayne Clausen is the man to beat. George De La Rosa was the closest on the day. Rudy Vieira, van der Merwe and Wells will be the ones chasing him hard when we go down the road in a month's time to round number 2. All of this GXCC racing action was brought to you by SPX Logistics, in association with the franchise company and driven by Dunlop Tires and Bikers Warehouse.